Hello everyone, and welcome to the July 2025 Hero Studio Card Kit of the Month. Let's take a closer look at everything that's included in this month's kit. We're going to start off with the Let's Go die set. Now this is a very large die set and I divided it up into two parts, starting off with this part here, which actually creates the interior of a car. So think of the dash with the steering wheel, vents, rearview mirror. The second part that you see here adds the people as well as some accessories to be in your car. So you can see some sunglasses as well as legs and arms. And then we also have a new Herocape. The On the Road Herocape is also included in the July card kit, and it creates a wonderful landscape that you can place at the windshield of your car. And of course, they're coordinating dies that allow you to die cut this landscape or this scene out. In addition to dies for the sentiments, you actually have 3 dies that can be used to cut out the scene, so you can pop up different elements to add some more dimension. 1 die that cuts out the mountains, and then 2 dies, one that cut out the top and the bottom of the scene. Also included in this kit is a paper pack. This pack includes 10 sheets of colored cardstock. Each sheet is a different color and measures 5.5 by 8.5. Also included is a half sheet of mirrored cardstock, which is perfect for the car accents. And the last item included in the July card kit is a pine ink cube. Now that we've looked at the entire contents of the July card kit, let's create a card. I'm going to start with an A2 top folding white card base, and I'm going to grab that awesome Herocape stamp set, and we're going to stamp a little landscape here for the windshield of our car scene. I'm going to start with the sky, position it over the very top of our card front, and then I'm going to ink it up in Arctic Core ink. This is a really nice light teal or pool color. After I inked it up and stamped it several times, we end up with this beautiful sky, but I want to add a little gradation, so I'm going to grab Paradise, which is a slightly darker teal, and I'm going to partially ink up. So I'm just trying to ink up the upper half or upper third of the sky. So I'm kind of angling my ink pad so only a small portion of it comes in contact with the stamp, and I'm going to repeat this process a couple of times here just to kind of build up that intensity and also kind of create a smoother gradation, a smoother transition between the light teal and the dark teal. After I stamped the sky, we're ready to move on to our next layer, which is the mountains and ground here. This is the base layer for the mountains and ground. For this stamp, I'm just going to ink it up in Peony, which is a very light pink. I pulled from some of the colors that I found in the paper pack to build this landscape, and I really love the way it turned out. After I stamped the mountains and the ground base layer in Peony, I've grabbed the detail layer for these and I've lined it up and picked up with my Misty, and now I'm going to ink them up in Papaya. I do stamp it a couple times in Papaya as well, just to kind of build up the intensity and make it nice and crisp. Once I finish with the Papaya, we are almost done with our mountains and ground. We have one more layer for those mountains. I'm going to pull it off here. It goes right over the mountains, and we're going to ink this up in pink grapefruit, which is actually, after you stamp it several times, it becomes kind of a dark coral. So I inked it up and stamped it about 4 times to really kind of build up the intensity, and we have some nice contrast between that and the Papaya. So we're almost done here with our landscape. The last thing we need to stamp is our road. So I'm going to grab the road stamp here, line it up, and then I'll pick it up with my Misty. I'm actually going to ink this road up, or stamp this road rather, in 2 inks, starting off with charcoal, which is a very dark gray. Inked up and stamped it a couple times in that, and now I'm going to move on to black. Just like we did with the sky, I'm going to partially ink up the stamp, so I'm angling my ink pad so only a small portion of the ink pad comes in contact with the stamp, and then I stamp it. Now for this next layer of this black ink, I brought in my blending brush to kind of soften the transition. I just pounced it along the edge where I stopped inking. I repeated that process a couple more times till I had a gradation that I really liked. I thought it was a nice smooth and really made the road look more dimensional. So now that we've finished our landscape, we're going to move on to creating our car dash. I'm going to start by die cutting all of my elements out of cardstock. I used Sicily for the main part of the dash, and then the rest of the car parts are basically cut out of gray, black, and mirrored cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and start putting these pieces together. I do want to point out here that the little vent pieces here stayed inside this scrap. So I just cut the scrap free, and now I'm just popping out these pieces once I'm ready for them. That just helps so I didn't lose them in the meanwhile while I was kind of die cutting and grabbing all my pieces. So I finished the vent here. Now I'm going to work on this radio part, or stereo part. I did die cut this part out of peridot, which was also included in the kit. Then I'm going to I did die cut out this little dial here out of Sicily, which again is included in the kit, and also what I used for the main body of the dash. Now we're going to move on to kind of some extra elements. I did off camera finish up the radio and the gear shift, and then I went ahead and die cut a portion of the dash out of black cardstock, and then I just hand cut out these little circles for the cup holders. I like them black, and then I added the gray detail. Now we're ready to just kind of put this all together. So I'm starting to glue in all these elements, starting with the gear shift, well actually the cup holders, the gear shift, then all of our parts for our stereo, so the radio and the stereo part, and the vents. Then we'll finish up here with our steering wheel and the little handle for the glove box. Now that our dash is almost done, the last thing I want to do is kind of add a change of color or change of colored cardstock for the seats. So again, I took that large dash die, and this time die cut it out of coral cardstock, cut out the seats, and now I'm just going to glue them to our car. Now that that's finished, we're going to move on to our people for our scene. I went ahead and die cut an arm and some legs out of fawn, which is a nice tan cardstock. Die cut the shoes out of alabaster, which is a cream or off-white, and the laces are die cut out of white cardstock. Then I'm moving on to the pants here. The base of the pants is cut out of waterfall, which is included in your kit, and then the overturned cuff is seaside, which is nice light teal. For the other person in the car, I die cut a sleeve out of carrot, which is included in the kit. And now I'm going to start to glue the arms and legs to our car dash here, or our car interior. Once I've got those glued down, I'm going to go ahead and trim off some of the excess. You can see some of the arms and legs. Also, you can see my little kitty here coming and inspecting the job that I'm doing. Well, once I've got those glued down, I'm going to flip this over and actually trim off that overhang. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So I pick this up and flip it over, and I'm just going to trim off the overhang on the side and the bottom. I do want to leave the feet just as they are intact. That's okay that they're kind of poking out past the dash. Now we're going to move on to lining this up with our card front with that beautiful scene that we stamped. Now I want as much of this scene visible as possible, so I'm actually going to shift our card down a little bit, which means we have some overhang. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off this overhang here, and once I get that trimmed off, we'll be ready to kind of start to put this whole thing together, which is so exciting. So I went ahead and trimmed that down, and now I'm going to add some foam adhesive to the back side of our car interior. This is just going to pop it up and add some fun dimension. After I've added all the foam adhesive, I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing, and then I'll stick it down onto my card front, just lining up the bottom of our car interior with the bottom of our card. Now that we've got that finished, we're going to add our rear view mirror, which I also added some foam adhesive to the back side. This will just go at the top. I just line up the top of that rear view mirror with the top of our card. And then lastly, we have our sentiment. So I'm going to stamp one of the sentiments included in the Herocape directly onto the card front. So I'm going to just ink this up with black, stamp it down, and that will actually complete our card. I'll go ahead and hold up to the camera here so you can get a good look at the finished card. I really love the way it turned out. I think the scene is so unique and fun, and I just love the color palette as well. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and we cannot wait to see your creations.